So I stumbled upon a genre mashup of a movie. It's a Netflix original called Unknown Origins. Is this Spanish comedy action worth checking out? In Madrid, a serial killer is spreading chaos by choosing victims who are seemingly unrelated. The only unifying clue is the circumstances resemble the first appearances of comic book superheroes. This is a huge mashup of superhero, comedy, crime, action, and general geekdom. Now, the beginning of the movie was rough and kinda dumb, but then the whole format began to click. We have a straight-laced detective who is being mentored by a retiring detective. There's a chief of police who's into cosplay, and the new detective is being forced to partner up with an external liaison. This guy has experience in the geek culture. The personalities clash and they rub each other in all kinds of wrong ways, but then they begin to click. Now, the format doesn't really sound like it would totally work. I mean, you have this crime drama and crime mystery that's going on, and it actually does have a decent mystery to it. And it has some somewhat serious tones to it at times. Then it's juxtaposed with this quirkiness and off-the-wall comic book aspect. Now, because the tones of the movie are so drastically different, when they clash, it should make for a terrible movie. But what we end up getting, though, is an engaging mix of characters and a story that makes me want to see more. There's some really good humor in this that made me laugh out loud, and a lot of it is subtle, so you do have to be paying attention to the dialogue because otherwise you'll miss it. They also do some really fun nods to pop culture and movies. And as you're watching it, you'll even say to yourself that, ooh, this scene or this part of this really has a feel of X. And then later on, the movie calls it out in a line of dialogue, almost making fun of that other movie. But it's not. I mean, it's paying homage to it. It's actually showing kind of a love to it because they're drawing some inspiration from it. But that's what I really liked about this movie too, is that it's weird. I mean, at one point, it's really taking itself seriously. And then at the same time, it's also making fun of its seriousness. And that just creates a ton of charm. And the actors are a lot of fun too. I mean, their chemistry is what really sells the movie because the characters themselves have to work. Now, they don't always have to get along. They don't always have to see eye to eye. They are sometimes like oil and water and just rub each other the wrong way, but they also balance each other out because you have seriousness and then you have goofiness, and those two combine and fill in the gaps that each other are missing. But then on the flip side, the ones that are serious can have a little bit of goofiness to them. And the ones that are very goofy or just kind of weird, they also have this tone to them where they understand urgency and they understand tension and what's at stake, and they're willing to dive into that. Now, our two main characters are Jorge and David, and they're like the odd couple. I mean, I love, though, to see the growth that we see between them. I mean, individually, they both grow, they both mature as characters, but then as they work together and just how they interact, that is also some great growth that we're shown. And they're not static, which I really like. But even though I loved those two characters, there are a couple of characters that do seem kind of underdeveloped. I mean, we know enough about them to know who they are, to kind of understand them. And we're given lines of dialogue to kind of understand a little bit of their psyche or what they're going through. But there are also points where we are supposed to feel this huge emotional attachment to certain characters. And I don't think that that was totally there. And so when an emotionally impacting scene comes on, it's just kind of, well, that was a bummer, or, ooh, I don't know, what was I supposed to, I know what I was supposed to feel, but I didn't really feel that. I became totally sucked into this story, and it wasn't just one thing that glued me. It was the combination of the characters, the story, the overall mystery, and of course the humor. Now, I really hope that this is the beginning of a small movie franchise because I love what the story and what the characters are setting up, and I really want to see more interactions and more adventures with them. And they're definitely laying groundwork for a much larger story arc where we can follow. I could see several movies being made and they intersperse smaller stories within this larger arc, and it could totally work if they follow the format that they've already set up. And to keep in line with most superhero movies, there is a post-credit scene that kind of hints at maybe what's to come next. So if you're looking for something different that's really enjoyable and something that you don't have to take totally seriously, but can enjoy some in-jokes and some pop culture references and just some great nods to general geekdom, then this might be worth checking out for you. There's no sex or nudity, a lot of profanity, and some gory violence. I give Unknown Origins 4 out of 5 couches. So if you were a comic book superhero or villain, what would your name be? Let me know in the comments below. I'll be doing an Ask Me Anything type video in the coming weeks, and so I would love to get your questions. I have put a link to a Google Forms where I can collect all those questions in the description below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.